are Geekcentric, and you can be too. Love ya. Get home safe, guys. Peace.
Welcome to the Geekcentric podcast, and welcome to our special Behind the Geeks episode for Marvel Television's Daredevil Born Again. My name is Justin, and if you're joining us for the first time, well, we are Geekcentric, a podcast covering the world of movies, TV shows, toys, collectibles, gaming, and all things Geekcentric. On today's episode, we're diving into the gritty streets of Hell's Kitchen and the mutant-packed world of X-Men 97 with two of the most exciting composers working in film and TV right now, Andy Grush and Taylor Stewart, better known as the Newton Brothers. Now, you've heard their haunting work in Dr. Sleep, their pulse-pounding score in Five Nights at Freddy's, and later this year, they'll be reuniting with Mike Flanagan for The Life of Chuck. Now, this isn't their first rodeo with Marvel. They did bring us the revival of the iconic theme from X-Men 97, and they scored that entire series. Now they're lending their unique sound to Daredevil Born Again. In this in-depth conversation, Nate and I chat with both about how they approach adapting the music from the original Daredevil series, the emotions that shape their score, and the unconventional instruments they use to bring this series to life. Plus, they tease some Sonic Easter eggs hidden for some sharp-eared fans and share which MCU characters they'd like to score for in the future. We are very grateful for our time with the Newton Brothers. Andy and Taylor are absolutely fantastic. A huge thanks to our new friends at White Bear PR who helped set this up. We are so fortunate and grateful for the opportunity to chat with the Newton Brothers, especially given how big of fans we are of their work in the space of Marvel, with X-Men 97 just being an absolute delight. This is a longer episode. We did have a very casual conversation, but we hope you enjoy it. And just a couple things before we get to that interview. First, we will have our spoiler-filled discussion for Marvel Television's Daredevil Born Again coming out next week after the finale drops. You'll want to tune in for that because Nate, Darcy, and I definitely had a very in-depth conversation about what were some of the things that we really, really liked and maybe some opportunities that this season had. But with season 2 on its way, at some point, probably next year or the year after, we are very stoked. So that episode will be dropping next week. And then we are out of here. We are in Japan. We are covering Star Wars Celebration. We have been very busy planning a trip. And yeah, we are stoked for that. So you'll be wanting to follow us on our socials, on Instagram at We Are Geekcentric, on Twitter at GeekcentricYT. And yeah, there's going to be a lot of stuff for you to see on those platforms. And if you're enjoying what you're listening to, if you're a frequent listener and you come and check us out, we so much value your time, and we would love for you to share how much you like us by giving us a 5-star review. It really helps us spread the love and get Geekcentric out there. So if you're enjoying it, feel free to give us a 5-star review. But you know what? This episode's already long enough, and I want you guys to listen to this conversation. So that is it. Without further ado, here is our interview with the Newton Brothers, Andy Grush and Taylor Stewart. Enjoy.
Andy and Taylor, the Newton Brothers, welcome to the Geekcentric podcast. How are you doing today?
Good.
Doing real well. Good. Yeah, thank you guys for having us.
Oh, dude, we are so delighted to have the opportunity to chat with you. In preparation for this show and getting ready for this interview, I got to say the biggest surprise for Nate and I was learning that you guys aren't actually brothers. I have to say that was shocking. We were,
or are you? Are you actually? Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, brothers from another mother. Yeah, we're not biological brothers, but yeah, I mean, he's like family to me, and I love his mom and dad and his brothers and sisters. So yeah, he's like the brother I never had. I was actually a big fan of his, and Andy's been writing music for a long time, and he's written some just beautiful scores on his own. So it was sort of just mutual love of music.
Yeah, Taylor was in a band. We met like in our 20s, and Taylor was in a band that I really loved, actually. So we sort of came together on that, and then that led to like, oh, we like the same music, we do the same things, and then we came up with a name to like hide from our day jobs what we were doing, and then here we are. We're still hiding, I guess, maybe, I don't know.
So the origins of the Newton brothers, just hiding from the day job, I guess.
I love it.
Hiding from the day, yeah, hiding from everyone, just like let us be in our studio, yeah.
I love it. I love it. We love talking to composers, and on our podcast, we love diving into the music for these series. So I kind of want to start off, before we get into the music for Daredevil Born Again, I wanted to start off with a spin on a question that one of my favorite composers, Michael Giacchino, actually asked some of his fellow composers at a panel at D23 last year, which is, if each of you could pick one TV or film score that you didn't work on that best represents you as a person, what one would it be?
That's a great question.
Oof.
Oh, that's
We will
really
allow time
good.
for you to think and come up with that.
For me, I went with The Incredibles, just because I feel like I'm kind of boisterous, and I like to think that maybe I could save the day in the right set of spandex, but who knows?
but as like our individual selves, not like what. Yeah. Oh man, that's a great question, because there's so many film scores that I love that have nothing to do with like me at all. So I would say I kind of oddly relate, even though I'm not aging backwards, but to Benjamin Button. I just sort of love the transition of his life and what he runs through and stuff. And I feel like, we've all had like major, like where we come from, where we are, where we're going. And I feel like it's just been a lot of changes and stuff. And I don't know why that movie just really relates to, it's a long film, but it connects to me like that. And I love the score too. The score is absolutely beautiful.
I think that there's a TV show for me and a film, and they're wildly different. But the film is The Revenant, super dramatic, but like I just kind of feel that
it's intense,
and not in a bad way. Yeah, it's super.
Wait a second.
Yeah.
That's what relates to you personally? Like you're in
The bear attack.
It's the bear attack. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The horse off the cliff.
Yes.
No, but I will say that there's like a thing to like when we're working all day for like weeks on end, like I get in a weird headspace where like I'm an outwardly very positive, like upgoing person, but like internally I get real like, I don't know. I think we all do, but I don't know. No one really talks about it, but I feel sort of like conflicted internally about everything in life, basically. But I think that's every person on the planet. And The Revenant does that for me. It like forces you to be like, how do you really feel right now? Like, not how good is your coffee right now? Not how excited are you to be like driving on the 405 when there's no traffic? How do you really feel? Like, and that does it for me. And then there's a TV show called The Good Wife. Excellent, like fun, quirky, like I love that. Like that. I like that. It feels fun. It's like colorful and interesting and like does a lot of things. Those are very different. I know those are very different things, but that's how I feel. Those are the two.
But it does say a lot about your personality, like both sides of it, right?
Yeah.
Like the creative side and maybe the liveliness side, right?
The
Like I
bouncy.
think that's really, the bouncy side when you're in a good mood.
Yeah. Wait, I have to know now. Do you guys have, you've thought about this. Do you guys have answers to this question? I have to know.
I feel like for me, it's like for film, it's Star Wars. I know that might be a little over generic, but I think as a kid, just understanding as a kid, growing up, I always thought I was just crazy for having an imagination. But seeing something like Star Wars with this full breadth of imagination on display and the music, it just helped me to understand that I'm not alone. I can have an imagination so I think Star Wars on that side, and then the other side is another Giacchino score, and I think we were talking about it yesterday, but Lost. I think Lost is something that allowed me to understand emotions and within music and understand my own emotions as well. Like just how music can accent those things. I think at a really interesting time in my life, I was getting more into like indie music, and Lost was also somehow embedded in that process and just gave me a real emotional layer of understanding how music can hit in a different way. So those would be my two choices. And I think Nate, you
Those
said
are
The
great.
Incredibles.
Great choice.
The Incredibles for film for me, but Lost, I agree with you there. And I think think those moments when you really don't want to be in a situation. That's the, when it just goes right before the boom to loss, like that,
Yeah.
that
Yes.
string, like,
Yeah.
I have felt that in my life many times.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh,
Cut to black.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nate has a hand coming out of his like shoulder, and then then it kind of boom. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Well, that's cool, man. Thank you for taking that question and running with it. Both of you gave us great responses. We love that. Getting into talking about why you guys are here. You're both working on a fantastic new score for Daredevil Born Again, Marvel Television's latest series. We are enjoying the show. We are enjoying your music as usual. And we know that Marvel has such a history of iconic themes, and Daredevil is no different. The previous Netflix show, that there was a signature there. There was a distinct brooding sound that was also kind of in that score. We wanted to start off by asking, like, how do you balance honoring what came before it while creating something fresh and new?
I think, first of all, we were both we love the IP and the Netflix show as well. And we thought John's theme was great. Mm-hmm. And I think if just like X-Men 97, we love the original theme. And I think if you think of a show or think of a brand as like, well, what is it? If it's already been established, and, Daredevil is relatively new. The Netflix show is not that old. So I think fans and, ourselves alike, we both recognize, hey, that's what this show is. That's the theme. And then it's really about, so it's been established, like, how do we want to expand on that universe? How do we want to add, new ideas and contribute to the story and the characters? And I think it really came down to the early ideas was just Matt Murdock. Like, he didn't really have a theme, and he was such a character in this new series. And should he be Daredevil? Should he not be? He's conflicting with sort of what's happening in his life, and it feels very grounded. He lost his best friend, or one of his best friends. It's tragic, and how is he going to handle that? How is he going to deal with it? And I think that playground and that tapestry is where we sort of started, with a lot of great conversations and a strong cup of coffee with all the creatives, and it was great. It was great to be a part of that.
Yeah, our first eye-opening experience to a previous property was on Dr. Sleep. While it's not directly connected thematically necessarily, the sequel to The Shining had the elements of there's this iconic film, don't screw that up, but we're in a new place now. Danny's in a new place, and that's and then we took sort of what we learned from that and applied it to X-Men 97, and then applied the same thing sort of to this with John's original theme, which is great and is Daredevil, and as fans we wanted to hear that. But then it's we're into a new chapter now, and it's how do you stay with honor the past and the character of Daredevil, and then also jump into who is, as Taylor said, who is Matt Murdock, and what does that mean?
Yeah, and I think we're in some spoiler territory. We are, I think as of this recording, episode 4 is coming out tonight. And so, spoilers for anyone watching that haven't watched maybe the first episode, but the foggy of it all, there's so much emotion in just even from what we've gotten so far and in this series, and with so many emotions. In your time composing for the show, what have been some of your favorite emotions to actually score for? And are there any that are more technically challenging than others?
I think for me, there was a sequence between, and actually for the whole show, it's in the trailer as well, between Fisk and Matt, and they're sitting down and they're having that conversation. And the way it was shot, and just what's being told so much by the lack of dialogue and the camera work, and it's just sort of the words they do start to speak, the tension, and you could just cut it with a knife, and it's so good, and the actors are pouring their hearts out in this sequence, and I just love that scene. It tells so much what's not being said in terms of this new story of story arc of this season. And so for me, we we put a little bit of music there. We actually had started with quite a bit of strings and some like a low pulse and stuff happening. But I always felt like it needed almost nothing because it just was so powerful. So I think it's knowing when to, get out of the way and leave space, and when to be thematic and when to let the actors do their thing. And I think for me, that was one of those scenes.
Yeah, and I think the emotion that hit the hardest for me was like the rage of it all. Like there's like a primal rage to not even like a rage towards like villains, but like even a rage within himself of like why can't I just be Matt Murdock, you know? And as much as he tries to be Matt Murdock, there's always this voice that's like calling to him, and he can't do anything about it. And it's like there's no 5 minutes for fighting where he can like I grew up playing hockey, and there wasn't a lot of fighting like early on, but in high school there were a lot of fights. And I remember like realizing in high school, like, oh, you get 5 minutes for fighting, because like after 5 minutes you're like, cool, I don't care anymore, like let's move on, right? But there's no five for fighting with Matt Murdock. It's like he is living with this, and I think that that's like really an intense thing to like deal with, and to see his rage throughout the first episode, even to like to see like what happens there is like really interesting, and really tricky to score too, because it's like internally you're like you want it to be something like really jacked up and like hyped, and but that's not the answer. I mean, we wrote things like that that we didn't even play for anyone early on, because it's just like you just need to get it out, like all the loud like banging and noise, and that's appropriate in some places but not for this show or his character. And I think that's a lot of what sort of drives what's happening with him.
Yeah. I love that you talk about the process being like, get everything out that you want, and then sort of scale it back and understand how, as you said, Taylor, to not necessarily get in the way of other things, but know when to accent something, know when to come in and hit an emotion a little bit harder.
It can't just always be the bear from The Revenant, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Well said.
But you guys are touching on something that we were both talking about. The Matt Murdock of it all, the Daredevil-esque portion focus of this show. We get to experience Daredevil's world in a very deep sensory way. We wanted to know, like, how did that influence how you designed the soundscapes or instrumentations for the show? And if so, what was there any new musical textures or themes that you wanted to introduce into this world when doing that?
Yeah, I mean, I think we thought about this long before we even got the show. To be honest, we just love sort of that character and what sonically happens, and we've thought about that in terms of how does that equate musically. And when we started writing sketches early on, we tried several experiments to see what would work and what wouldn't, and also what creatively that they were going after. So rather than just doing, heartbeats and there's a lot of sound effects with doing heartbeats and, different things, we ended up taking a solo cello, and it was actually an acoustic cello rather than an electric cello. And we run it through guitar pedals that are delaying the sound and moving in sort of like to the left, to the right, so giving it space. And they slightly are pitching out of tune as they're moving down ever so much. So it was to sort of, as you hear these, it was the intention was to, hey, this is the senses of what's occurring. And then we brought in some other, like some subway sounds that would kind of like suck and reverse and different things like that, to sort of give the feeling of like, hey, something's happening, something's occurring, sort of, this is the Spidey, the Spidey sense. We tried a bunch of crazy things, but it ended up, this felt like it worked well in his world, and that's sort of where we played with.
Yeah, and we had a bit of like a call and response with the city, because we talked with the team a lot about like what is the sound of the city, right? And where we ended up sort of like finding our way to was like a place of like a cantor in a mass, like leading the congregation, like through like a whatever part of the mass is being said, right? And and you've got this like lone female voice singing these parts, and the idea is that like she's singing and asking the city or Matt Murdock or Daredevil to like partake, because the city is very much like I mean, from my time, I mean, we live in Los Angeles. I know it's a city. I don't consider it as much of like the city as like when I go to New York and you're like really in the city. But it's like there's like a calling in any city you go to, like Chicago, like any city around the world. There's like as soon as you get out in the streets and like things are happening, there's like a calling, whether you're going to a meeting or going to get a coffee. There's something, there's so many things happening in the city. So we talked about rather than like the city is like this one instrument or this one sound, we were like, what if it's like this like lone female voice that's sort of calling out, and in some cases calling out like to Daredevil or to Matt, or in some cases to the city or to to Fisk, more of a general calling out. Anyway,
Or
I
to
don't know if
someone
that
else.
makes sense. Yeah, yeah.
I'm totally tracking with that. I hear what you're saying, and again, we're from Toronto, so Toronto's its own city. It has its own calling, its own vibe to it. That you get that inherent vibe that you're referencing. So I think that totally works.
Doug Gilmour's my favorite hockey player ever, by the way. So I just have to throw that in there.
Wow.
Sorry.
Okay, here we
Sorry.
go. We got a
Sorry.
Leafs fan here.
Just drop that there. Like he was my guy. He was my guy in high school and college. Yeah. Anyway, sorry. I didn't mean to
He's
like
the coolest
just
guy.
take
No,
that off.
that's totally fine. I like the side quest
Appreciate
on
it.
that one.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Were there any like really like you already mentioned a few different techniques that you used? Would you say there was anything that was just incredibly unconventional, or like did you have like, I don't know, like I've heard different composers using like shells from like a beach somewhere or something like that. Like, was there anything that you utilized in the compositions for this series that like are just people wouldn't expect?
I mean, I think as far as like a traditional score, it feels traditional at moments, but it's really not. We're hiding it and we're doing things to make it seem traditional, but it really isn't. I mean, even the way we recorded orchestra, we're recording orchestra in a without to bore you, but in a stereo fashion. Normally the orchestra has sections and it moves, you have your string violins, you have your, violins too, your violas, your cellos, and it's positioned in a certain way. We talked with our orchestrator about doing it in a stereo way. So cellos and violins were all left and right. So when one player would play, it would almost sound like it was moving across to the other side. So it was not very traditional at all. In fact, I think the orchestra was just like, what are we doing? What is happening here? But it created a nice, again, a spatial sort of feel, which goes along with Matt and perceptions and that kind of thing. And then we did use a lot of like weird, strangely enough, weird sounds for Fisk and some crazy stuff for Muse. We use this Therevox instrument, which is almost like a cross between a theremin and like a soprano singer, and you play with a string, and it's really weird, so we use that and whispers and it's like some crazy things, and all kinds of stuff, and not so crazy, but we really wanted to bring in the Catholic element, which was you'll hear choir in just about, or voice in a lot of scenes.
Right.
Yeah. And we've got a couple there's like 2 hymns in the show that we wrote, and lots of vocals, and then we do have, there's like a percussive element that is kind of subtle. Well, it's not too subtle, but it's the closing of a car hood mixed with like a big water jug that I get filled up every week with water from this place. The 2 of those combined, and what was tricky is that like we had this idea for 5 hits, just 5 like bum 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 bum, like as like a thing that you'll hear throughout the but we needed it to be substantial, but it also has to be dynamic. And so I found out the hard way that I couldn't just use one closing of the car hood. My family laughs because I'm not a car person at all, so I had to I had to get like several iterations of the car hood closing to sample it correctly so that it could then, it'd be interesting to see people play that, like get people lined up with car hoods and have like bump, 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 bump. Like, I don't know
That's
how
what I'm
you could
thinking.
do that, but that'd be really cool. Like maybe at the Hollywood Bowl, we could get like 5 cars up on the stage, like
I
to
like
Yeah.
that.
kick off the track. Yeah.
Kingpin's not the only one using cars creatively.
Yes.
I guess. In this, we're the Geekcentric podcast, so we are huge fans of any and all things Easter eggs. We usually cover these shows week to week, or we at least talk about them in big spoiler capacity. And our favorite thing is catching all the little Easter eggs. I wanted to ask, are there any Sonic Easter eggs that the two of you have snuck in there somewhere that you'd be willing to divulge for us?
Ooh.
That's a great, yeah. I think, I mean, in terms of storytelling, there's, what episode are we on 4 now? There's hints of a certain character that I'll say that are played sometimes when, they're not seen. So, and it's real subtle. And of course you hear it sometimes when they are present. So I think we snuck that in terms of playing with that aspect of that character. But that's pretty much, I think that's pretty much all I can say as far as that goes.
Yeah. Yeah, there is another one, but I don't think we can like talk about it yet, but we can at a certain point, and we will. Yes, we just can't right now.
Okay,
No
cool.
worries.
So we have something to listen out for. Is what you're saying?
Yes.
We've
Yes.
seen all the episodes, so
Yes.
I'm excited now.
Oh.
I'm trying to think back to like what you might be, but we're gonna go back to it, and then we'll
Yes.
be able to
Okay.
to listen
It's
for
real,
it.
it's
Yeah.
real subtle. Yeah, it's real
Yeah.
subtle. And
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. That's cool. Well, one thing that wasn't subtle was your X-Men 97 theme, because that thing slapped. You guys did such a good job. I'm wearing this X-Men sweater because
He
I
hasn't
am
taken
a
it off
mass-
since.
No, I haven't.
It's every
I've
day.
literally been living in it. No, this was like literally my favorite show of last year, and it had everything to do with the composition of your music, with the visuals and everything. That was just, the marriage of it was so perfect. It helped amplify the vibe. It captured the nostalgia, and that's very much my question. How did you guys go about building that theme and that score, balancing nostalgia with innovation in your approach to scoring the series, while also like making sure that it still hit for longtime fans and brought in new audiences? How did you just mix all of that together?
I mean, it was a lot of like homework on our end of sort of like backtracking, like what do we remember from the show? What do we want the show to sound like? And what is like, how do we bring it into this, how do we bring it into the next generation, And a lot of that involved like old synthesizers, like plugins that mimic old synthesizers, because those old synthesizers would go out of tune, and we found out real quickly that that's problematic when you're turning around 30 minutes of music every 6 days. So and it was a lot of just balancing those things, and then just sort of following the story, and the wild ride, and just like doing all the things that sort of needed to be done. It was really fun.
I think there was an interesting sort of experiment we learned early on, which was that what you remember of the music from the original series and the way the show just played, and then watching the same show today was very different than like sort of your perception of what it was. So I think we needed to sort of like, I think we went a little too far, late 80s, early 90s, with elements of the music in some of our ideas, and then we just pulled it back.
Sure.
And that's kind of got us to where we landed.
Well, it was perfection, and I think the other thing too, that you call out is like the original series. I don't know if we could say it's aged all that well. It still resonates with a lot of people, but that campiness and a lot of, you know, the animation and stuff like that, it might have not necessarily aged as well. A lot of people have very fond memories of it. However, this new iteration, this new revival of the show with your music and obviously the storytelling is completely elevated. It's grown up for the audience. And with that, I would love to know, like, was there a moment specifically for you guys that surprised you when you saw your music played against anything from X-Men 97? You know, maybe you didn't necessarily see it playing out that way, but it, you know, the way they incorporated it and the way it played back together.
I think, you know, I think it was very, very, very fulfilling when we saw certain characters sort of come to life. Like because we worked on pieces of music prior to really seeing much. Mm-hmm. And so we were able to, when we saw how well it fit for certain characters without having to adjust anything, it was really pleasing just to see, like with even Magneto and that sequence with him, just like, I don't want to let you down. You know, what do you say? Don't make me let you down.
Please don't make me let you down. Yeah.
That was an iconic moment when he has the whole the UN and he's floating above like the city, and like the music just, oh my God, the accent on that is so good.
It's so good. Yeah, it's so good. There's also when we were working on I mean, spoiler alert, but I'm sure everyone has seen it at this point, but you know, in season 1 when Gambit dies, we had put together like what is actually in the show now at the end, that like sad X-Men theme on the piano, like lonely piano only. Oh. We brought it in and played it for the team, and we were like, we know this is way too dark and way too heavy, but listen to this. And we played it, and everyone was like, oh wow. Like, it's just like, not only is this episode gonna gut everyone, but then with, you know, to like really like make the period as dark as the rest of the sentence is like, like when I saw that I actually didn't see that episode entirely done until I watched it when it was airing, and it landed on me just like, oh wow, oh this is, wow, you dick, like that, like yeah. Sorry, I shouldn't have said. Sorry.
No, that's totally fine.
It felt that way.
It was the sentiment. Yeah, it was the sentiment that everyone felt. But yeah, again, just can't share enough love for that show and what you guys did musically. And looking forward to season 2. I'm sure you guys are probably amidst that. So, but
thanks a lot, Justin. It's really great to hear. Thank you.
Yeah.
We have a couple more questions regarding Daredevil Born Again, but just before we get back to those, sticking in the broader Marvel space, you know, oftentimes the classic thing we always ask people that are part of Marvel projects, which is like, if you could, you know, fight alongside another Marvel hero, who would you? But for composers, I wanted to ask in terms of scoring for another Marvel character. You've both done some work in the horror genre. Is there a Marvel character in that genre that you would love to score for?
Ooh, that's a great question.
Mine would have an alternate storyline. I don't know if we can do that, but like, what if Beast gets like really pissed off and bummed out and becomes like a psycho who ends up like a Hannibal Lecter type of character? Like,
I don't know that exists.
and then he comes back, like, and he comes back from that, like, maybe, you know, like, I feel Beast is my favorite character because he's so like comforting. Like, there's just like a calmness to him, but I'm always like, what, how does he get pushed to the edge? You know, like, what is that? And like, what would that mean? I know that doesn't exist, so maybe that's not a fair answer. But
Andy, I need you to take that. I need you to take that to the higher ups at Marvel and get the next season
Whoever
of
you
What
know.
If. What if, you know, it's a thing.
Maybe it's a comic too.
That would be, but with a soundtrack produced for a comic, Justin, that would be pretty.
I think that there's an opportunity. There's podcasts that are doing that now. So
I would say,
just throwing that out there.
Yeah, I would say probably like Blade or Doctor Doom. I mean, yeah, there's so many cool characters. I mean, the villains are always fun to have so much fun with, but you know, Blade would be really cool.
Ghost Rider.
What's that?
Ghost Rider for you guys.
Ghost Rider would be great.
Would be epic. would be
Yeah.
epic. The chain
Oh,
sounds and stuff, and the flames and
Oh,
stuff. The different
oh,
noises you guys could play
oh
with. Like
yeah.
I just because
More car
knowing.
doors and
Yeah,
car
more car
hoods.
doors, right? Bikes revving. Also,
Right?
just even the idea of like, again, we joke about it, but that's what we appreciate about the way you guys score is that
Yeah.
it is a little unconventional. It's about bringing in other elements to then turn into music in some of the greatest ways, right? It's like a mad scientist method sometimes, right?
yeah. It's
It's
funny. So
fun.
we for Doctor Sleep, we recorded this massive hurdy-gurdy, and we were telling, the studio, like, hey, listen, so we want you to, pay for the studio space, pay for this guy, and we're going to record this massive hurdy grande that may sound like a lawnmower, but trust me, it's going to be amazing, and there's just Andy is in this room, with this amazing talented guy Paul, and he's playing this thing, and they all are walking in, and I'm just going like, oh man, this is this is good, super unconventional.
It's wild, but it worked. It's in the film. It's in the film, and it's very effective, But it's like there's definitely like those moments of like there was another one on and I know it's Daredevil, but same or not on Daredevil, but on Doctor Sleep. It was a similar thing, but we looked at the same approaches from like weird scoring for Daredevil, but there's like an essence of wind, and we started with like, oh, woodwind instruments, and that's not whatever, that's too normal. And then we found this like 92 or 96 foot wind harp that was like an artist installation in San Francisco. It's near the San Francisco airport, and we were like, I'm friends with a bunch of meteorologists here in LA randomly, so I actually hit him up and was like, yo, like, can you let me know the next time there's going to be like some severe wind in San Francisco? And we connected with a guy who's a recordist up in San Francisco. And it turned out it was like New Year's Eve day. There was like this crazy like storm that came through, and he went out there and mic'd it up, and it like makes these weird and crazy sounds. But there's all sorts of bird noise and planes we had to like deal with. But there's a 7.5 minute take that we didn't edit at all that ended up in Doctor Sleep as is. And it's so eerie because it's like in this creepy scene. But it's interesting when you do things like this, how the elements that you're working with sort of start to tell you what they're going to be, like there was some stuff we were recording just with like it didn't work, but we're trying to bow some sounds for Daredevil, making our own sort of like bow basically, and using contact mics. And in that process, it you can tune it, but like it's going to do what it wants to do, because sometimes when you tune it, it's not what you need it to be. Like, oh, this is an E flat. Let me tune it to E flat. Oh, it doesn't, like when I go to E flat, it sounds like garbage. So it's an interesting process of like, we kind of call it mining, right? I'm sure other people call it mining too, but you're sort of like hunting around for sounds and picking up instruments, and specifically instruments that, for me, instruments that I don't play well, I find the most interesting things out of, because it's like you're trying to make it work for how you can like the only way you know how to play it. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, it totally does. It totally does. And that kind of goes hand in hand with my next question, which, is about the production process. Have there been moments where you guys have very much like your music has influenced the direction of a scene or a story, like has changed maybe the course of it? Has anyone ever shared that with you? Like, oh, after you put this score in, it changes everything for us. Has that ever happened to you guys on a project?
Ooh, it's a good question.
Yeah. It's definitely worked both ways, where it's informed the scene, or the scene informed the music, obviously. We've been told that, but it was more of like after the fact, like maybe they made an edit or an adjustment, and there was like, oh, we just we took an edit of the scene here just to fit the music a little bit better, and which is obviously an amazing compliment, rather than, because I never hear that happening. But we're never really told that. It's after the fact.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, love it. Yeah, I think the idea of that full collaboration though, and like we were talking about earlier, like getting to then see your work and how it may have been utilized within the scene. Yeah, I love that, and I love sort of hearing about that, about the ways that that can be cyclical, right? The ways that you can collab with the people that are making this stuff.
Yeah,
On
there is
yeah.
actually a scene. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you
No,
off, Nate,
please.
but there is. It's relevant because the film actually screened in Toronto, The Life of Chuck. The end of The Life of Chuck um, has a moment where Taylor and I worked with Mike Flanagan on the ending very specifically, and it's all sort of a dance between like us and Mike and one other element, two other elements, and it was very much sort of like Mike heard something, was like, "Oh, you did this. Well, what if you then did this?" And then we did that, and he's like, "Oh, now what if we do this?" And it was like sort of like an unlocking of like a puzzle. The way, I mean, he just has it all, like he's got like a thing, so he was able to like do that. Anyway, so but that
That's
movie's
cool.
coming out later this year, so you guys can
Yeah.
see that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that
Exciting.
one for sure. Yeah, and just in terms of, again, just from the production side of things, and for both of you, this is kind of for each of you. Is there a moment in Daredevil Born Again where you got to flex creatively, and then you heard that final cut, and then you just sort of said, "Yeah, that's us at our best." Like a moment that you were just, distinctly proud of that you were able to bring to life.
I mean, there's a couple. Yeah, there's several scenes that they're later in the episodes, but I think the great thing is that we had written a bunch of pieces early on that we put forward, and they would go from being very quiet to being very big, knowing that we can pull back and or go bigger if they want us to. And surprisingly, a lot of those suites or those things, they just stayed as they were. They weren't, they weren't adjusted. And in some scenes, maybe they were, like, oh, we should pull out the rhythm, or we should change this and make this quieter or something. So there were things like that made, but I think we were both, really, really happy with specific scenes, and even the intro. I mean, the intro, we both love how it tells that story of sort of this new version of what's going to happen with Daredevil in terms of just even the breaking down and building back up. Here's this guy who just lost everything, and now he's trying to become a good person. What does that mean? So I think those sequences, there was a couple of fight sequences that were like, they were just crazy huge. I mean, the track count was massive, and I was certain that would be like, oh, we're gonna just cut this out, cut that out, and it stayed. So it was very, very fun, very exciting.
Cool.
Yeah, episodes 4 and 6 have a lot of things that I think feel very like they kind of land like in a way that's like, oh yeah, that sounds like something we do. Oh yeah, we did that. Like that's, it's like I think yeah, and you guys probably already know. I mean, you know the things that are in 4 and 6, so it's
Yeah.
like yeah. So
For sure.
yeah, those things really yeah. I know I probably can't say more, so I'll leave it at that.
Sure.
Yes.
No, that's great though. I
all
think
good.
the episodes themselves are good indicators for our listeners and for us to understand a little bit
Mhm.
more.
Really quick, can I just ask though, are you already working on music for the next season of Daredevil Born Again? I know they just started, but have you started anything yet?
We're always working on whatever project we're on. Like, just because ideas you have about something, or maybe another character, we're always, no matter what projects we're on, there's, even when no one's asking for anything, we're still, or we haven't
You're
seen
working
anything.
on it. Yeah.
Yeah, just because you wake up and you're like, oh, I have this cool idea, and maybe it will work, maybe it won't, but it's all, which is the fun of it.
It's the art, right? It's the experimentation,
Yeah.
it's the exploration, it's the discovery. It's also the idea of, like you guys were saying before, getting it all out. Just go with it, and then figure out how you can kind of do that. Because we watched the behind the scenes of making the theme, and like your track lists were insane, man. Like they were so you're watching on like a big screen. So like I'm a video editor, so like that's like a dream to have that, but to have that many tracks, I probably would lose my guidance on it. But it looks like you guys are, again, just making art. You know what I mean? Like it's a little unconventional from the traditional, but what you get is something that is entirely different from anything else. And that's the beauty of it. So Andy, Taylor, that's it. We are so grateful for your time and joining us on the Geekcentric podcast. It's such an honor to again geek out with you about the music that you guys make on the things that we love. Absolutely adore what you're doing with Daredevil Born Again, and X-Men '97 was just highlighted composing work for you guys.
Wow,
Thank you
you
guys.
so
Yeah,
much.
thanks for having me.
Yeah, really appreciate you guys. Like, we could geek out with you guys for hours.
Yeah, I know. We could
This
get
is
into
fun.
it, but we're very grateful for you sharing your time. So we hope you have a great day. We're looking forward to what you do next.
Thanks a lot, Justin. Thanks, Nate. We really appreciate you guys.
Yeah, thank you guys.
We'll hope to see you in person soon.
Peace.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye.